I was born in the evening between 8 and 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Now, obviously, I don't remember this, but my dad remembers it very specifically. How does he remember the time so exactly? Because he was watching the new episode of The Simpsons in the waiting room when the doctors called him in to come and, see me being born. Many years later, I repaid him for making him miss The Simpsons by tracking down the episode and showing it to him in its entirety. Season 6, Episode 15, Homie the Clown. I like to think that right as I was being drawn into this world, this was happening on television.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
Because that's how I feel inside. The point of all this is that The Simpsons have always been a presence in my life. They were there when I was born, they'll probably still be going when I die at season 150, completely generated by AI. So recently, when I found out a friend of mine had never seen The Simpsons, I took the opportunity to do something I've always wanted to do. Show someone the complete golden years of The Simpsons in chronological order. So that's what I've been doing. Right now we're making our way through season 2, and the other night we watched the episodes The Way We Was and Homer vs. Lisa and the Eighth Commandment. Of course, I've seen these episodes plenty of times before, but watching them again in the modern day with someone who's never seen them, I found them interesting. Not everything in the early days of The Simpsons has aged super well, and both these episodes seem like prime examples of that. Don't get me wrong, they're still plenty funny, though, season 2 funny, not seasons 3 through 8 funny. But with both of them, I found myself taking away a very different message than the one I think the episodes intended. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Season 2, Episode 12, The Way We Was, is The Simpsons' first ever flashback episode, showing how Homer and Marge first met back in high school. Obviously, this is a real important episode lore-wise. The Simpsons, of course, would retcon its history over and over again as time marched on and its characters needed to stay the same age. But unless there's something I've missed in the, 20 or so post-movie seasons that I never saw, they've never altered the essential heart of this story. That Homer and Marge met in high school and have been together ever since. If they have retconned this, don't tell me. I don't want to know. So this story is foundational to Simpsons lore. Here's how this iconic couple first got together. Here's what drew them to each other. Here's how the people they were in their youth turned them into the people they became. And here's the story that the episode presents. Homer's a teenage loser, bad at school, already lazy and gluttonous, often in detention. Marge, in contrast, is one of the school's top students. High grades, extracurriculars, promising future. But she ends up in the same detention as Homer for holding a bra burning outside the school. And Homer falls in love as soon as he sees her. He tries to ask her out, but she's got no interest. He persists, but still she turns him down. Rather than taking no for an answer, he claims he needs help in French class so that she'll tutor him. And they have a tutoring session, and not only do they bond, but Homer actually takes well to learning French when Marge teaches him. He asks her to the prom again, and she says yes, but then he stupidly reveals that he's not even in a French class, and she gets mad at him for deceiving her and leaves. Instead of going to prom with Homer, Marge goes with Artie Ziff. But Homer, being Homer, misunderstands things and shows up at her house anyway, where her family sneers at him and fawns over Artie. Marge goes to the prom with Artie, and Homer goes alone. Later on in the night, Artie tries to get handsy, and Marge slaps him. He drops her off back at her house, and she hears her family bad-mouthing Homer inside. We cut to Homer walking alone down the road. Marge pulls up beside him and invites him into the car. She says that he's the one she should have gone to prom with, and Homer says this adorable line.
I got a problem. Once you stop this car, I'm gonna hug you and kiss you, and then I'll never be able to let you go. And I never have.
Aww. But I'm not sure I buy it. The key moment in the episode is Marge deciding to go back for Homer. And so the question the episode needs to answer is, why? What prompts her to take this action that profoundly alters the course of her life? And watching this episode, I don't think it's for the purely wholesome reasons we're supposed to think it is. We're supposed to believe that it's, for love. Marge realizes what a special guy Homer is, and she wants to be with him. But I don't think the episode justifies that. Homer, earlier in the episode, tricked her. He lied to her so he could get closer to her while wasting the time she needed to practice for her debate club. Except this episode calls it a forensics club? Did forensics mean something else back then? Anyway, that's not cool behavior, and Marge rightly calls him out for it. But then, the episode never gives him a moment to make up for it. No grand romantic gesture, no acknowledgement of guilt, no moment where Homer realizes that caring for someone means putting their needs before your own. No, he's so dumb he doesn't even realize Marge saying she hates him means that their date is off. You don't really get the impression that Homer ever properly understands that what he did was wrong. I mean, he's better than Artie Ziff, an arrogant dickhead who tries to molest Marge, but he still ultimately treated her in the same way that Artie did, like a prize he wanted to win, not a person with feelings that needs to be respected. And there's no indication that he learns to be better than this. Now, I'm not saying Homer is an evil person. We all love Homer. We all know he's a good person at heart. He's about 1 or 2 IQ points smarter than the average chimpanzee. You can't really hold the stupid shit he does against him. He literally doesn't know better. It's why we love him, despite his many faults. But why does Marge love him? What changed between when she said she hated Homer and when she went back for him, other than that she ends up with someone worse than he is? The key moments are that she sees how lonely he is without a date and hears her family bad-mouthing him. So Marge's family sucks. We don't get to see her dad much, but her mom is horrible and her older sisters are horrible. Marge is pretty much the only one in the family who isn't a mean-spirited, hateful, miserable person. And so part of the reason she goes back to Homer, I think, is to spite them, to purposefully do something they don't approve of. She's a teenager, after all. But I think that there's an even bigger reason, one that isn't clear in this episode alone, but that makes sense when you have a full understanding of Marge's character. Hey everyone, the audio quality in this video is about to take a major drop. That's because my mic stopped working halfway through recording the video and I didn't notice it until I was done. Now I could of course re-record the audio for the second half of the video,
but I'm a lazy, lazy man.
You know what, if you've made it this far you're clearly invested. Enjoy your lower audio quality. Marge, in the show's present day, loves being a mother. It's something she takes a ton of pride and joy in. She feels fulfilled by taking care of her children. And I think it's that same instinct that brings her back to Homer. She doesn't see in him someone who can be an equal partner in life. She sees someone pitiable, who needs her help. She feels sorry for him. This is pretty explicitly in the text of the episode. She goes back because she sees what a sad sack he is. And the show pretty much confirms this interpretation in Season 5's Secrets of a Successful Marriage. In this episode, Homer and Marge come closer to splitting up than in any other episode in the Golden Age. And what does Homer ultimately offer to get her to take him back?
Complete and utter dependence.
Homer needs Marge to live. He's nothing without her. And by his own admission, that is all he can offer to her. Another person to mother. Someone so pathetic that he'll die without her attention. And this hits Marge exactly where she's weakest, in her urge to take care of other people. So when you put these two motives together, it adds up for an adequate explanation for why Marge goes back for Homer. But it doesn't really add up to love. And it doesn't feel like the foundation of a successful relationship. Watching this episode with modern eyes, it feels kind of tragic. Marge, as a high schooler, has enormous potential. There's so much she could do with her life. But in this one moment, her spite for her crappy family and her inner need to care for pitiful things causes her to tie her life together with this sad loser destined for nothing. It hurts saying that, because we love Homer and Marge, and we love both of them together. We want to believe that their relationship is a good thing for both of them. The episode needs to convince us of that. But I can't help but watch this episode and come away with the impression that Marge made the wrong choice. She should have said no to both of these inadequate men and forged her own path in life, until eventually she found a man worthy of her. She could have still had the family that gives her so much happiness, but with a partner who's more of an equal. I think the show kinda knows this, which is why it never really looks too closely at the question of whether Homer and Marge really belong together. For the show to go on, the answer needs to be yes. The audience needs the answer to be yes. I need the answer to be yes. But when I watch this classic episode, I don't get that answer. That was kind of heavy, kind of sad. My next take's a little lighter. Let's end on that one. This one's about the immediately following episode, Homer versus Lisa and the Eighth Commandment. First of all, this episode is very dated for technological reasons. Homer buys an illegal cable hookup from this sleazy guy, thus providing the Simpson house with all the joy that cable has to offer. But Lisa decides that this won't do. Not paying for cable is stealing, and stealing is wrong. So she makes a moral stand against the stolen cable. Eventually, Marge comes over to her side, and ultimately Homer does too. The whole family sits outside and misses the big title fight that all their friends are watching, and then Homer cuts the cable. This is the first of many Lisa Takes a Stand episodes, but it's one where the stand she takes feels oddly incongruous with the Lisa we'd come to know. One of Lisa's defining traits is that she's socially conscious. When she takes a stand, it's usually against some powerful institution in defense of some value that she holds dear or a group that she cares about. She takes on Malibu Stacy because she believes it's harmful to little girls like her. She becomes a vegetarian because she doesn't want to hurt animals. She's a little lefty, it's what we love about her. But here, she's on the side of the institution. The group she so adamantly defends is the cable company. And what's her reason for this? Well, because stealing is wrong. That's the unmistakable message of the episode. Stealing is wrong, period. Homer should not be stealing. That is bad. He needs to stop doing it. And so, if that's the message, what arguments does this episode promote in support of this conclusion? Well, there's 3. Argument 1. Cable TV itself is bad.
Live from New Orleans, this is the World Series of Cockfighting.
The episode portrays cable as a source of nothing but trash. There's a bit where Bart discovers a porn channel and shows it off to his friends, and the family ends up spending even more hours of their limited lives glued to the TV set. So, cable bad. But that argument has nothing to do with stealing. The cable would have the same content on it, porn and all, whether they paid for it legally or got it from an illegal hookup. This is an argument against TV, not against stealing. Argument 2. The people who sell stolen cable are bad people. The guy who Homer buys a hookup from is a sleazy criminal who later threatens to rob Flanders' house. And this is an early Simpsons episode, so they hadn't yet established that Homer steals from Flanders all the time. Anyway, that the guy is crappy is presented as another argument against stealing cable. But again, it doesn't really touch the act itself. If the guy were a cool dude who just wanted all his friends and neighbors to have cable for free, would that make it okay? Besides, come on, we all know there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. The cable companies are criminals too, just richer ones. That leaves us with the third argument, and the one the show mostly focuses on. Stealing is bad because it makes you go to hell. That's pretty much the whole argument. Lisa gets scared by her Sunday school teacher talking about hell, and she becomes convinced that watching the stolen cable will damn her and her family. And, I guess that's a hard one to disprove. Maybe God does send you straight to hell if you steal cable or download torrents. I don't know. If that's the case, I guess Lisa's right. But it still kind of misses any actual explanation of why the act of stealing is wrong. Once again, it feels weird for Lisa to be making this argument. When Lisa tends to take a stand, it's usually for more left-wing, progressive reasons. When someone takes a stand for fairly conservative reasons like this, it's usually going to be Marge. Like when she protested Itchy and Scratchy or got the burlesque house torn down. Knowing the Lisa I know, it's disconcerting. Ultimately, the arguments are so weak that I find myself completely agreeing with the sleazy salesman's brochure.
Myth. Cable piracy is wrong. Fact. Cable companies are big, faceless corporations, which makes it okay.
You know what? Yeah, the brochure's right. That does make it okay. The show has not provided strong enough counter-arguments to this position. That makes it okay. It's okay. It's okay to steal cable. You should steal cable. It's okay. It's okay. Ultimately, the best argument that the show makes against Lisa's position is one that it makes completely unintentionally. At the end of the episode, Lisa has convinced the whole family to sit outside on the lawn and do nothing while, inside, everyone who came over to watch the fight on cable is having the time of their lives. Look at them, they're loving it. Even Mr. Burns is loving it. It brings rich and poor together. The people that don't care about stealing cable have a great night, and the people that do have a crappy one. Guys, I think Lisa might be the villain of this episode. It's weird to see The Simpsons being so straightforwardly moralistic about an issue like this. It's so funny that these early seasons, which were considered so outrageous at the time, still have some messages that seem quite traditionalist and outdated by today's standards. If either of these episodes were first made today, or even a few years later when the show was at its peak, I don't think they would have been quite like this. And that's an interesting thing to observe. So, I intend to keep this project going for as long as my friend will stand for it. If I watch any other episodes that I have hot takes on, I'll probably talk about them here. If I never talk about The Simpsons again, I guess I didn't have anything else to say. Subscribe to my channel. Bye.